My fiance is trying to double dip in his relationships by dipping the babysitter, so I'm kicking him to the streets and taking our daughter. So, my fiance, Alex, 35M, and I, 28F, have an 11-month-old daughter, Cassie, together. I had Cassie and then returned to work because I could never be a stay-at-home mom. Side note, I work as a psychologist, and I'm actually French but live in the US. When I returned at the 4-month mark, after a difficult birth, we looked around to find a nanny to look after Cassie while Alex and I were at work. We saw a few girls, but then one of Alex's colleagues suggested his daughter, who had dropped out of college, let's call her Liv, 20F. Everything went well. Admittedly, I did notice her being quite attached to Cassie, but I brushed it off as a good friendship between the two. She also liked Alex, and it was obvious she had a crush on him, always batting her lashes and giggling. I found it amusing, as I'm confident in myself, and he always laughed it off with me too. But then on Thursday night, he asked me to do something on his phone while he bathed Cassie, and I saw some pictures flash up from Liv. When I looked at them, they were obviously inappropriate images. She was wearing skimpy clothing and in provocative poses. I looked back at the history, and she had been sending these for a while. As far as I can see, Alex has never responded, but obviously, texts can be deleted. When I asked him, he got defensive and told me to stop using my psychiatrist tricks on him. I was not happy with his non-answers, and it ended up in a shouting match, waking Cassie. So I got him a bag and threw him out, telling him he's not welcome back until I have answers. I'm considering taking Cassie back home to see my family in France for a little bit. His mother and friends have been blowing up my phone, saying I'm being too harsh and that they were harmless texts. Nevertheless, I feel disrespected, and that doesn't fly with me. Update 1. I'd like to start this off addressing the comments stating I'm kidnapping my daughter. I'm taking her with me to visit my family back home in France for a few weeks. Alex has already given his consent on the matter and it is a non-issue. There was also confusion about my job. I work in the psychology field, and I was just using this post as a sounding board, really. The responses from his friends and mother made me question myself. As stated, I informed Liv's father of what happened. He was furious, both with Alex and Liv. He apologized to me and said he would try to get the truth from her, mentioning that she rebels any chance she gets, but this was just disgusting. I then looked through the camera in my daughter's nursery, and I saw a clip of Liv asking if she wanted a sister or brother from Miss Livy and Daddy. That made me feel sick to my stomach. She responded to her dismissal with denials, but I told her I had the footage and that she was to never lay a hand on my baby again. If she wanted Alex so bad, she could have him. I reminded her that how you get them is how you lose them, and he would soon tire of a 20-something college dropout kid. Alex returned to the house temporarily for us to talk. After I showed him the camera footage and text from Liv, he broke down and said he was really sorry. He admitted that while nothing had physically happened between them, they had been exchanging photos and messages for a month or two. He showed me the original messages, and it was her who had pursued him. She started by saying she felt like a schoolgirl around him, and she said she needed advice from an important man like him. She sent a provocative photo of herself, asking if he liked what he saw. He started out not really responding, but after a few texts, he responded, and it started from there. She was saying things about them being a happy family together, but he never responded to those texts. He begged me to forgive him and start fresh. He said we can move, that we have plenty of money, and he will do whatever I want. I told him what I want is to go home for a few weeks, so that's what I'm doing, and Cassie and I are flying tomorrow. He honestly looks so pathetic right now. They are welcome to each other. There will be no wedding, and I will be consulting with a custody lawyer once I get to France to see my options both in the US and internationally. As someone in the comments said, I stayed in the US not because I think it's a good place to live, but because that's where Alex was based and wanted to build our family. However, I will always support the father-daughter relationship, but he cannot have our daughter and his nanny. Update 2. Hi everyone, thanks so much to all of you for putting support and advice under my 2 posts. There are also some very obvious insecure incels in the comments claiming I'm kidnapping my daughter, and you're just hilarious. Anyway, for the update, Cassie and I have been in France for 2 days now. It's been so wonderful to be back with my family after missing them for so long. They've been doting on Cassie, especially my mother and father, who, even though are divorced, remain very amicable for the sake of my sisters and me. My mom had a big room set up with toys and blankets for Cassie, and I've also been loving the wine and cheese. It's been very good to let loose after all the stress, honestly, and I've gotten to ride my family's horse and show him to Cassie finally. I'm meeting a lawyer today, and my ex has been calling. I let him talk to Cassie whenever he wants, but I'm refusing to engage while I'm on my break. Liv contacted me out of anger and spite when Alex cut all contact with her to show that they had a one-night stand a few weeks before I found out. Update 3. Hi everyone again. A lot of you still comment on my old posts asking for an update, so I thought I'd let you guys know what's happened in the past few months. So, after going to France to visit my parents immediately after what happened 6 months ago, I agreed with my family that I needed to come home to France with my daughter. My family said they would provide any help I needed with moving and lawyers, and my father said a prayer we never had a wedding, as there was no divorce to go through. When I returned to the US, I informed my ex-fiancé that there would be no compromise or discussion on my next steps. Cassie and I were returning to France so I would have my support system closer, and I wouldn't feel so isolated. I told him I'd never try to stop his relationship with Cassie and that he would be welcome to visit her in France, depending on where he decided to live, and that I would happily bring her back to the States for visits periodically. However, I wouldn't compromise with Liv. If I found out she had been near my daughter, I would stop all contact between him and Cassie. I felt like, after what he had put me through and how he had disrespected me, I was quite gracious with my offers. We managed to sort the move out in the next 2 months and signed an agreement which stated I was the primary custodian of our daughter, and I made most decisions regarding her. It set out specific times Alex would be able to see or have Cassie. He basically agreed to all of this because he thought once I had left the US, I would become more sympathetic and let him back in once we were in France. I didn't bother to correct him, frankly, because it benefited me. I found a really nice apartment a street over from my parents, so I moved in there once my parents and sister had helped me get it decorated before I came to France. We've been here for just over 4 months now, and Cassie is settling in great. She goes to a daycare with my friend's son and has made great connections here with other kids. I'd forgotten how much more social the experience of having kids was in Europe compared to the US. Once I was added to the parents group chat, the other mothers immediately suggested welcome drinks to get to know me better, and I've made some amazing friends with other moms and dads. I didn't have any of this in the US. It's really helped Cassie's language skills as her French is developing much better than when it was just me speaking it to her. I've put her in baby ballet like my parents did with me, and she's loving it. We've got a rescue cat called Walter, and Cassie adores him. He sleeps at the end of her bed and looks after her all the time. Alex has been over twice since, even though I had given him plenty more chances to see Cassie. However, he didn't take me up on them. For context, there is no issue with money or his passport to excuse why he won't fly. We spent Christmas with my parents, my sister, and her partner, and it was just a lovely celebration after the crap that happened. I've started seeing one of the doctors from the new hospital I work in now. It's still relatively new, so she's met Cassie only briefly. She works in the emergency department, and she's honestly amazing. I did jokingly say Alex had put me off men but didn't mean to take it so literally. It's going slow as she knows what I've just come out of, but she's very laid back and a go-with-the-flow type of person, which is exactly what I needed. Alex's mother is not happy, as she is of the opinion that I should have just ignored what happened between Alex and Liv. She said when I was in her family, I was expected to act like a normal American housewife and forgive my husband like her and her daughter do, none of that European nonsense. However, I'm not just a little American housewife who will ignore her husband's indiscretions. Thank you all for your advice and support in my initial posts. Edit. For all the Americans getting annoyed at the phrase little American housewife, not my words, I was quite literally quoting Alex's mother and what she said to me. She is an American. Also, it's really funny to see the men in the comments proving that there is still a double standard. I don't know why, as the mother, I am expected to stay in a country that doesn't speak my first language, where I don't have any family, few friends, no support, and have to deal with Alex's family all for his sake so he doesn't have to make an extra effort to see his daughter when he was the one who decided to break the family in the first place.